NBA draft, I'm not going to dwell on that, but Victor Wembanyama was number one. For those that don't keep up with basketball, he is a generational talent. He's a once every 20, 25 years type of guy. So that ties me in to a guy named Nico. And we've asked this question before, but we've learned more through spring camp, and we've learned more through my sources that tell me Joe Milton is definitely the guy and no question about it. So we will ask the question about Nico Iamaleava. And the question is today's tough question as we get to that right now. And it's brought to you by our friends at Craft Treats. CraftTreats.com. Use the promo code Off the Hook for 20% off.
Today's tough question. Take a side. Take a stand. The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
Okay, so I am on the Wembanyama train. I think that he is going to win multiple championships. I actually think he's a better prospect than LeBron. But let's don't get caught up on that. Let's talk this. Nico Iamaleava is the highest rated quarterback, arguably in Tennessee football history, to commit to the Vols, and probably the highest rated prospect overall. Now, they didn't really keep track of this with Peyton Manning, so certainly landing Manning, and I would argue Schuler, was as or more impactful to the program. But now that we're having this conversation, and from all the sources that have told me and everything we've heard publicly and across the board, there's no question Joe Milton is going to be the starter until he either stumbles or, God forbid, an injury or something like that. So I look at Victor Wembanyama, and he was drafted last night. Listen, if he doesn't win at least 3 championships, his career is going to be looked at as a failure. Now, he's going to play 16 to 18 years, so we're talking a little bit apples and oranges. But now that we've had spring practice in the rear view, what are fair expectations for Nico Iamaleava? Because they're pretty sky high, but most of the people I talk to think they're reasonable. So I will just ask you this. Give me in a nutshell, and I want this on the message board too. What are fair expectations for Nico Iamaleava?
It's Iamaleava. Still
Sorry. Let me get Nico to do it again. Iamaleava. Go ahead. I get stuck on that so bad. I'm embarrassed. Here we go. All right. So, Nico, say it for me one more time. As it is Nico Iamaleava. Iamaleava. All right. Go ahead.
I got 3 names. And he's got to mirror one of these type of careers. Tommy Frazier, Danny Warfel, Tim Tebow. And I've said and what I've talked about consistently is it's very rare when you have a system coach and a system program that lands the quarterback literally crafted for that system. And that's Nico Iamaleava. Lincoln Riley runs a similar system out west at USC and did it in Oklahoma. He's never landed a Nico. He's turned quarterbacks into Heisman winners, don't get me wrong. He's never landed a quarterback like literally cut out for him. Caleb Williams is the closest he's gotten. Nico Iamaleava is more cut out for the system than Caleb Williams. I think even you would agree with that, Dave, right?
Yes. I would. Yes. I would agree with that. Travis says, Dave, how do you still mess up Nico's name? I'm never doing that again. Iamaleava. Go ahead.
So
did I get it that time? I nailed it.
You got it.
Thank you.
You got it. If Caleb Williams, Jalen Hurts, and Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray can all win, not Hurts, but the other 3, those 3 can all win Heisman trophies, and then Jalen Hurts can be propelled into the highest paid quarterback in NFL history, all based on what they did in this system, because Lincoln Riley runs the same system. I think it's very fair to say that Nico Iamaleava should be at a level above all of them. And that's why I name Tommy Frazier, Danny Warfel, Tim Tebow. The 3 quarterbacks that literally went to a system that they were created in a lab to run, basically.
I think he should be better than all 3 of those. I think that those are fair expectations, but I'm going to pin you down a little bit here and ask you in terms of championships, in terms of team success. And if you want to throw Heisman in there, you can, but it seems like Tennessee's just cursed for that. So I've got to vote, but there's only so much I can do, kids. So I want to pin you down on expectations, and let me hear it on the message board in terms of championships. And it's brought to you by Craft Treats, crafttreats.com. Use the promo code Off the Hook, get 20% off at Craft Treats on the chill pills or any product with the chill pills. They can help with your pet's anxiety. They can help with your pet's arthritis, digestive issues. It's awesome. Crafttreats.com. Use the promo code Off the Hook. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Like, thumbs up right now. I'm going to have the bar lower the most. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that. I think it is win the East. I think those are fair expectations.
There's not going to be an East when he's starting.
There's not going to be an East. Okay. I think it's
go to Atlanta play.
Well, okay, that alters it. You're right. There's not an East. Okay. I think you have to play for an SEC championship. You have to be in Atlanta. So essentially winning the East, being the top two teams. However that figures out in the pod system, it's going to be straight up, straight down now. So I would say that he has to do that, and Tennessee has to make the college football playoff twice. And that's basically 2 for 2. Because if he doesn't start this year, the other fair expectation is that he's not around for 4 years, right?
Right.
I mean, he could always pull a Peyton Manning because he loves Tennessee, and that's cool. And the NIL money could be that much. But I think the other expectation, so I've got 3. Plays in Atlanta for a championship. I don't know that he'll overcome Georgia in the next 2 years. May, but I don't know that that's going to happen. I think Georgia's really got it rolling. If they keep speeding rolling, then maybe there's a discipline issue, and that could undermine them. So I'll say that, and you got to make the college football playoff twice, and you should be gone after 3 years. Those are my expectations. And I'm guessing, Caleb, not to put words in your mouth, they may be a little bit lower than what you think. What does our message board think? Go ahead and fill it in and hit that thumbs up button. What are fair expectations?
I mean, I am – it's either a national title or a Heisman Trophy. Without one of the two, it's a disappointment. He's got to get one of the two. And I know – and Dave, I know it's your era, so you're a bit of a victim of what Tennessee did in the 90s when even though it was the best run of the modern era, I think we all agree relative to the recruiting classes, they underachieved. They should have had more than one national title. I mean, it's kind of a failure that they didn't get more than one, given the recruiting classes they got during that time.
That's true. They very well could have won it in 97 and 99.
Right, exactly. And I mean, listening to Fred, if John Chavis doesn't put Leonard Little at middle linebacker, they probably win it in 97. And they can stop the option at that point. And so I think a lot of people in Knoxville and a lot of Tennessee fans that I understand there's that just feeling of the Peyton Manning years, like, oh, how did Peyton Manning not get a national title? But Tennessee was always out-schemed against the best teams those years. I mean, they just were. I'm sorry, but Spurrier would out-scheme Fulmer. Tom Osborne out-schemed Fulmer. No one's out-scheming Heupel. Like, who's out scheming Heupel, and he's got his quarterback. In this situation, Tennessee is the Florida of the 90s. So Georgia is the Tennessee of the 90s. Because I think Tennessee can out scheme Georgia, particularly with the Ray Goff version of the offensive coordinator now in Mike Bobo at Georgia.
Old drunken Ray Goff.
So yeah, I think Tennessee can absolutely out scheme Georgia and beat him doing that. Tennessee's the Florida. Tennessee is the Spurrier. Georgia is the Fulmer of the 90s.
Message board, fair expectations for Nico would be comparable to Hendon. It is a team sport after all. That's true. And I'm being completely unfair. Well, with wins and losses, it shouldn't be attached to quarterbacks. Super Bowls, national titles shouldn't be attached to quarterbacks, but they just are. I understand they're one of 22. I get that. But if he put up the same numbers as Hendon Hooker and the team had the same success, which is flirting with a college football playoff and what a top 6 finish when it was all said and done, that ain't good enough. I'm sorry. If that's the conversation we're having in 2000s, heading into the 2007 season, and he's moved on and he's the first pick by the Vikings, That's not good enough.
Yeah, particularly when the NIL collective opened the checkbook for Nico. This is the other part that didn't exist back with the other quarterbacks I named. Nico got paid to go to Tennessee. He got paid. We all know it. It's not confirmed, but we all know it's true. This is how it works in the NFL. You get a big contract, your expectations raise a lot. This is why I've always said, Dave, Philly sports fans are my favorite sports fans in all of America. Because I will never forget in 2013, I went to a Phillies baseball game, and Cole Hamels was on the mound, and he pitched a horrible game, and they booed him. And I'm sitting here thinking, Cole Hamels won y'all a World Series. Why are you booing him? My friend, who is a big Phillies fan, he's like, yeah, but then we gave him a $100 million contract. We didn't give him that contract because he won us a World Series. We gave him the contract because we wanted him to win us another World Series. And you should be held accountable for what you're paid to do. And Nico, I know it's NIL, so it's not technically a contract. It's basically a contract. He got that money because people wanted him to go to Tennessee. Let's call it what it is. And he got the money so he could deliver for Tennessee. So guess what? He's got to deliver. I'm holding him to a standard.
So yours is pretty simple. National title or Heisman Trophy. Mine is you got to play for an SEC championship, and you should make the college football playoff 2 years. And if you do that, I think you walk away, and Tennessee's a knock on the door every single year type of national title contender. So Nico Iamaleava is able to do that. Did I do better that time?
Yes. Question, Dave. Okay.
Iamaleava. Go ahead.
Okay, so what's the best duo of these? And when I mean duo, I mean both equally. Where would Nico and Heupel rank as a duo? And when I mean duo, I mean both equally contributed. There wasn't like one that like mattered way more than the other. So Nico and Josh, compare them to Cam Newton and Gus Malzahn, Tommy Frazier and Tom Osborne, Danny Warfel, Steve Spurrier, Tim Tebow, Urban Meyer. Where do Nico and Josh Heupel rank among them as a duo?
Well, they got to win a title first.
Well, which duos would you rather have based on what you know than Nico and Josh?
Well, I'm an old school run the ball guy. I mean, among that group, I love the physicality of Nebraska. If you want to talk Tom Osborne and Tommy Frazier, I mean, I can't beat that. I mean, I enjoyed watching that. Most people don't. I don't give Werfel as much credit because I think there are probably about 50 quarterbacks across the nation that could have stepped into that role. I mean, he was a great fit, but he didn't have a strong arm. He just did exactly what Steve Spurrier told him. And what was your other trio?
Tebow and Meyer, and then Cam Newton and Gus Malzahn.
I would say of that group, I would say of that group that Tebow was the best fit for any of those. More than Nico, more than even Tommy Frazier, because I think there's somebody else that could do that. Don't forget this too, that when it comes to Tebow, he was a great leader among a team full of thugs. So he had that going for him. I mean, if they don't have that, that team goes off the rails. I mean,
they were killing it for Tebow.
It was borderline off the rails. I mean, you had Urban Meyer cursing. Who's this skinny, slender guy who's on ESPN all the time? He worked for the Orlando Sentinel at the time. He covers the NFL now. And he just cussed him in front of cameras right there because he knew that things were going off the rails. And then, something hurts in my chest. I think I need to hang it up.
Oh, yeah, leadership, I can't question, but I meant like schematically, it seemed like it was weird. Urban Meyer goes to Florida, and I mean, could any better quarterback have fallen out of the sky into his lap to run the spread offense than Tim Tebow?
Probably not.